Dan Perry here with another C++ tutorial for the Dan on Tech tutorials. And in this episode, what we're going to be doing is talking about outputting to the screen or the console. And the primary method we do that is with a command called cout. C or console out. And with the cout command or console out command, what we're able to do is we're able to send things to our standard output, which is normally the screen. Now, we've seen this program before. The top of the program really hasn't changed any. It's our include statements and our comments. I'm going to scroll this up just a little bit so it's a little higher in the corner. Maybe that was a little too high. And we have our cout, our console out statements, the one so far. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to look at this statement in a little more detail. Remember, when we ran the program in the past, what we had was it output the words hello world to the screen or the console. So the cout or console out statement allows us to send things to the screen or the console. Then we have these less than symbols, two less than symbols. Those are known as piping symbols. And those symbols are used to say whatever comes to the right, send it into the cout. So any command or anything that's here on the right is piped or sent into that cout command. We have inside our quotation marks hello world, and for right now anything we see inside of quotation marks is going to be printed or displayed exactly as it appears in the quotation marks, with some exceptions such as this \n we'll talk about later, and the command ends with a semicolon. So right now when we would run this, it will output hello world. Now let's go ahead and let's do another cout. And again, I'm going to use the less thans to pipe and say another line. If I could type. And now let me close that and do a semicolon, do another cout. And now I've got 3 lines of code with couts. Let's go ahead and compile and run this one. And, okay, what have we got? Well, we've got hello world on a line by itself. We've got then another line, a third line, and press any key all together on the same line. So they're all bunched up together. Well, let's look at this. I said anything in quotes is displayed exactly as it appears in quotes. I said there was an exception, this \n. The \n is a new line character. There are 2 or 3 commonly used what are called escape sequences, and they always start with a \. So if you see the \/ as the starting point, that's one of those escape sequences, and this \n is one of them. The \n is the new line. You'll also sometimes see a \t, that's a tab. Tab. 2 backslashes will actually display a \. So those are some of the common escape sequences. Because I did not have anything that said go to a new line in either of these 2 lines, they stayed on the same line. So let's go ahead and correct that a little bit, make a couple of changes, and see what happens. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to put a new line character here, and I'm going to also put it here. Now, I didn't put a space before, after the E in line or the T in output before the new line. Well, that doesn't matter. It will put a blank space because the blank space is inside of the quotes after hello world, but then goes to the new line. But here there's nothing. So let's run that and see what happens. And they're on separate lines. So if we look at what's going on here, this time we've got the first cout, the hello world, that got us that one on its own line. Then the second cout puts it on another line, or another, and the third one is on its own line. Well, the reason the press any key is on its own line is this new line at the end, so that allows us to put everything on their own lines. Okay. Now there is another way. Oh, before I do that, I don't have to have the new line character at the beginning or the end. Let me go ahead and put a backslash in here and run it and see what happens. Okay, and this time, if you'll look, you'll see that it says a third, and then the word output's on a new line, and there's a blank space at the beginning. Well, says this cout says a third, the backslash n says go to a new line, and then there's a space here after that, and that space is the reason for the space before the word output. So we can put those new line characters at any point in our program, or in our, I should say, in our cout. Okay. All right. Now there is another way of doing new lines, and that is with something called an endl. Now, an endl does not appear inside the quotation marks. An endl is a C++ command that's part of the IOStream library, and if we use it, we have to have it with its own piping symbols, and it's ENDL for end of line, ENDL. So if I put an endl here and another one here, and I did not need to put a blank space between the less thans and the endl. I could have left it here. We should see things going again to a new line, so let's run that. And exactly the same as with the new line characters. Wherever it sees the endl, it goes to a new line. With this one, the endl here moved us to the beginning of the next line. Because there's two sets of piping symbols, and we can have 3 or 4 or 5. We can have as many piping commands as we need with this cout. The cout, the less than, as I said, take what's on the right and sends it to the cout command. Well, after it pushes the first element or first piece of information into the cout, then it will be the next, and if there were more, it would keep pushing them, going left to right, pushing them into that cout command until it's finished processing the command. Okay. So that is the basics of doing a C or a console output using the cout command. One other thing very quickly is in the same light, we can actually send things to the standard error, and it's CERR for standard error. Other than that, it is identical to the cout command. Well, by default, the standard error location is also the console, so we won't see in this case anything different. But if we were to have redirected that error to a file, and you can redirect or send your error output to a file or to another location, then in that case we would have seen that going to that alternate output location. And one last thing, I can put an endl at the beginning instead of the end, and if we run this one, Notice there's a blank line between another line and a third output. That blank line is because we've got an endl at the end of this another line one, and then at the beginning here, so it went to a new line there. Also notice I've got mixing an endl and a new line character. Well, the new line character's inside the quotes, and we can mix and match those any way we need to, and C++ doesn't have a problem with that. Well, let's go ahead and end this one at this point, and the next tutorial we're going to start looking at input and variables.